Morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is J.R. Moore coming to you live from deep in the mountains of the Missouri Ozarks on Monday, the 23rd day of October, year of our Lord 2017, and welcome to the John Moore Show. Prepper tip of the day. I would say a small percentage, maybe 10% of Americans can use a topographical map and compass to navigate across country, and that's pretty optimistic, more like 5%. If you live an urban, suburban life, even in the country as far as that goes, you may not see a need to do that, to acquire that skill. But the ability to read maps, whether they're city maps, highway maps, or topographical maps, is an essential skill in my opinion. So your prepper tip of the day is to get those maps. Topographical maps, road atlases, city maps, get your compasses plural, and learn how to cross-country navigate and learn how to read a map. That's very important, very foundational. Don't put it off any longer. We have patient waiting in the green room, my friend Jimmy Ginsling. Jimmy is the CEO, the proprietor of Desert Eagle Shooters. That website is deserteagleshooters.com. And this is Firearms Monday. We're going to talk about firearms and everything related to the gun culture. Good morning, Jimmy.
Well, good morning, sir. Hopefully you can hear me okay.
I hear you fine. How are you this morning?
Oh, my voice is a little bit rough. We had the gun show in Las Cruces this weekend, our first time to be able to do that particular gun show. And outstanding. College town, one of the other liberal conclaves of New Mexico. Primary one is Santa Fe, and then you have Albuquerque and Las Cruces, and it seems like those three determine the political makeup of New Mexico with voters. And Teresa and I just had so much fun this weekend. It was put on by the Lions Club International. And one of the few gun shows that I've seen that first thing in the morning, they've got coffee and donuts for the vendors.
That's nice.
Oh, yeah. And great bunch of folks over there. If anybody is looking to get a gun show in your area and you do have a Lions Club, which I think most every town does, you might talk to them and, have them talk to some of these other Lions Clubs that do them and see if you can get a gun show brought into your own community there. Main subjects that we were covering by the people this weekend was reloading. We set several people up to start reloading. And the other one, and I think this is a good day, John, to make a big call to our listeners. That same phone number, 202-224-3121. Write that down. Put it in your phone under speed dial. And a lot of the vendors around the coffee pot and the donuts, Teresa and I had fun just standing and listening. Because there were a whole bunch of, well, in fact, there were only two vendors there that we had ever done before with Eli's shows.
Right.
So, a group of people to listen to. And both mornings, the conversation focused a lot around getting our congressmen off their duff and getting the Hearing Protection Act out. Ryan has got the thing tabled. It's sitting in a committee, and he told them don't to deal with it, that they want to save it for next year for the election time. And you and I both know that is, we need that now. They wrapped the Hearing Protection Act into another bill that I have to go look up because my brain just quit. It's a sportsman's bill, and everything I've read about that bill, researched and everything, it's what we want. It protects hunting and fishing, sports, and even camping in some of the wilderness areas and things, so everybody's covered. And it's something that we need because it more or less pulls back government agencies like BLM and Forest Service and a few of these others kind of ties their hands a bit, not fully, about making wilderness areas and preventing people from getting there because of some sand lizard or whatever. And the other bill that has been tabled and just sitting there is the National Reciprocity Bill, the concealed carry law that makes everything kind of even footing across the United States. Right now, there's a reciprocity with every state in the union on driver's license. And there's a reciprocity in every state of the union about auto insurance, meaning that I travel to Missouri to visit you and Tim. Missouri has to honor my driver's license, and if I'm in an accident, they have to honor my insurance coverage and not prevent, or fine me or something because my insurance coverage didn't cover, hitting a duck on the highway or something.
Right.
So both of those bills, ladies and gentlemen, call your congressman first. And I don't care how many congressmen you have in your state, every one of them represent you. You have one from your district, that's your primary. But every other congressman in Washington, D.C.'s decisions affect you. So if you call and talk to a congressman's office and they say, well, you're not in our district, the legal comeback is, but his vote affects me. And they have to listen to you. Whether they do anything or not, they hang up on you. There's some avenues to take. I need to find out who it is now. But I have been told that if you have a congressman or a senator that refuses to, their staff puts you on hold for 3 hours till you hang up or whatever, that the first call after that is either the House or Senate, whichever one you were calling, Sergeant at Arms. And I've never known very much about that office, John. You may. But evidently, Sergeant of Arms of the House and Sergeant of Arms of the Senate are pretty powerful people.
Well, they are, but they stay in the background. There's no public attention to what the Sergeant at Arms does. Well, Jimmy, my reality is between now and the end of the year, they'll have a Thanksgiving break. They'll go on, and they leave basically a few days before Christmas, and won't come back until in January. There's basically about 7 productive weeks left, and that's optimistic, before the end of the year to do very much. So it's going to be 2018 here pretty darn soon, and I agree with you. Lobbying these people is good and needs to be done on one hand. On the other, my reality is to get these things on to where they can be voted on in 7 weeks of working time is quite a bit optimistic, I believe.
It is. I am, well, as Teresa puts it, I'm more of an optimist than a pessimist, which is a good thing. But the point is, Ryan has already mentioned that concerning the tax bill, working through the Thanksgiving and Christmas breaks to get it passed, I think now is a good time to hit them up to cover these as well in that time, because the bills have already gone through, I believe, most of the committees, and they're hung up in the last one before they can get to the floor for a cloture vote. And the way I understand things are right now, I'm still trying to get information from Pierce's office. They're working on it for me. But if you tell these congressmen and senators that you're talking to, if they seem to be lackadaisical, then just explain to them, excuse me, Congress are reelected every 2 years. They're up for reelection next year. And because of their actions, you're already looking for someone to primary them. you affect their job, ladies and gentlemen, and they start taking notice.
Well, one thing these congressmen are very fearful of is a viable, well-funded, heavily backed primary opposition, because they don't want that. They don't like that. They want to have their money and efforts focused on the general election, where a viable primary candidate or candidates plural is very harmful as they take away from the money that they want to reserve for their the general election. So but whatever you say has to be backed up by something real, not just an empty statement with nothing to back it up. If there is a viable primary candidate who has stated as such and is actually filed, I think filing begins towards the middle or the end of January, that will get the congressman's attention, or congresswoman, keeping in mind that most of calendar year 2018 will be spent campaigning on the part of these congressmen and congresswomen. That's just the nature of the beast, isn't it, Jimmy?
Oh, yes, sir. And that means it's the stuff that we have to get done, and the items that Trump is pushing on and working on have to get done. And, ladies and gentlemen, if you have got a background, if you can speak in public, if you've got a good foundation, I'm not saying great, and I'm not saying college level, but if you have that foundation, why not run for office? You can obviously do better than the school board members that are sitting up there right now wasting money, or the city or county commissioners that are voting to pad their own pockets rather than bring jobs into their community. Seriously look at it and talk to your friends, talk to your family. Most of all, the first discussion you should have with it is your spouse. Your spouse knows you better than you think, and they would be able to sit there and say, yes, you can do this, but you need to tone this area down or focus on this because you're passionate on it. And if you can't do it, but you know, say you've got a president of a credit union locally that everybody respects, the man is always up front and doing things for his community, doing things for disaster relief or veterans overseas or something like that. Approach them, not by yourself. Get 2 or 3 good friends, maybe your pastor, maybe if you're good friends with a deputy or sheriff or something like that. Call them, make an appointment with them, go in and pitch that, look, you're one of many, and you think they could be this office better than who's in there now. And approach them. You never know. They may have been bouncing this idea around for years, and it just takes that particular nudge. So that's how we find new congressmen, new senators, school board members. I always bring up that one because it's so important with the condition that our schools are in now anyway. And just think about it, ladies and gentlemen, please. We all sit there every day of the week, and we gripe about this, we complain about that, but what are we actually doing about it? I'm as guilty as the next person, sometimes more so. Because I talk with John about this stuff and everything, and then once we're off the radio, I'm running to do this or do that, or make orders, or work on projects for customers, and this sets in the back of my mind, and at 8 o'clock when I'm finally slowing down, I'm going, crap, I forgot to call that person. So I'm not putting myself on a high horse. Believe me, I'm right down in the trenches with everyone. But think about it. I've already got an individual here focused on that I would like to see, and I've got lots of folks that think he would be very good at it, running against Senator Heinrich, which is just your general political dirtbag. But that's how we make these changes, ladies and gentlemen. That's how we get the Hearing Protection Act passed. That's how we get national reciprocity. That's how we counter the Dianne Feinsteins and Harry Reid's already gone, but Schumer's and everyone else that want to take our guns. And it's just, we've got to do this, ladies and gentlemen. And after the bottom of the break, John, I'll go over something I heard this weekend that I think is probably the very best defense that any of us can use for acquaintances, co-workers, neighbors that are just so hyped and ready to go on gun control. Talked to a gentleman this weekend, Korean War vet, just awesome individual. And we were talking about this subject, and he explained to me how he does it. And one of his friends was sitting beside him listening, and when he started explaining this, his friend kept biting his lip because I could tell this guy actually does this, and his friends get a kick out of it. So, and it's a very good way to handle these people because it puts them back on themselves. And
well, that sounds good. We look forward to hearing that. Along with all this, these things about campaigns and so forth, it's critical that every of the 3,300 or so counties in the United States have a Constitution-supporting sheriff. The sheriff is the top law enforcement official in all these 3,000-plus counties, and it's critical that that person be a man or a woman who will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Yes, it is. Now, on that point, John, and I did not...
Hold it. We have a break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the inter-shelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The inter-shelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at thelibertyman.com. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 23rd of October. Special announcement this coming Saturday. This would be Saturday, October the 28th. I'll be speaking in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. 1 p.m. at the Red Line Inn. There's a banner at my website with some details. The event will be free and open to the public. Look forward to seeing a lot of you folks there. Visiting with Jimmy Ginsling, the CEO of Desert Eagle Shooters at deserteagleshooters.com. And you had a follow-up comment there, Jimmy, before the break. What was that?
Yes, sir. I found this out about New Mexico about 3 or 4 years ago. Up until that point, I was an absolute dummy on this particular piece of information. And ladies and gentlemen, you need to check it with your state, but look for the requirements of your sheriff. I found out, like I said several years ago, that in New Mexico, the sheriff or the person that is running for office does not have to have any form of degree or formal training in law enforcement. They don't have to have any prior experience in law enforcement. They can be you, myself, anyone that wants to run for sheriff. Now, immediately a lot of people come up and go, well, that's stupid, that's crazy. No, if you've got let's say you've got a government teacher in high school, and this guy has studied the Constitution, loves it, teaches it with vigor and dedication to his students, and you've got a corrupt sheriff and doing absolutely everything wrong for some time, and this individual decides that they're going to run for sheriff, I think I would much rather have his knowledge and his background keeping the deputies and staff and everything on a narrow constitutional footing than I would a political hack. So any of these positions, ladies and gentlemen, look into them and see what the requirements are. On that same note, here in New Mexico several years ago, we had a governor in one case, not a governor, a mayor in one case, and then it was some other kind of office in another town that after the election, mind you, and in the case of the mayor, he'd been in office for about 2 or 3 months, they discovered that he was not qualified because of some of the requirements for being mayor. And when questioned about it after his removal, he says, well, I knew that. He says, I just wasn't going to say anything. So pays, ladies and gentlemen, to pay attention to the requirements for the offices in your city and county. But I found that quite interesting, John. The sheriff did not, and they've tried to change that this last legislative run, and it got slowed down because of the kickback from the people. So they've got another legislative run coming up this beginning of the year, and chances are that's going to be brought back up again. So we as a state here have to keep an eye on it. Are you aware of anything like that in Missouri there, John?
No, offhand, I'm not. No, not offhand.
I just find it quite interesting. Sometimes we talk about professional and career politicians. That can be a way to get around things sometimes. But
Yep.
The other thing at the gun show that and this has happened last 2 gun shows, one of the original reloading kits that I was experienced with was known as a Lee loader, made by Lee Precision Reloading. And it's about the box that it comes in. You could stack 2 of them, one on top of the other, with 2 more, one on top of the other, and set it on top of the energy cleaner box and still have space around it. Very small, compact unit, and it's a complete reloading kit for your particular caliber. And the one that I had that I started off with, I had one for 44 Magnum, and I had one for 4570. And this little kit, it only neck resizes, so you use ammunition that's fired in your gun. And if anybody hears a thumping going on, my puppy dog Theodore is sitting here beside me and just happy to see me for being gone for a weekend. So
Okay.
that's what the thump is, that tail on the
I wonder
floor.
I thought somebody was hammering a tack hammer. We got a break. Call numbers 800-313-9443. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 23rd of October. My website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. I mention it occasionally, but it's worth mentioning a number of times. And, of course, I do also need to mention my special announcement. I will be speaking this coming Saturday in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. That's Saturday, October 28th, 1 p.m. at the Red Line Inn. The details at my website. There's a banner right at the top. Okay. Also, our project, and it's truly the project of all our listeners, of finding images of continents with new coastlines in movies and television shows, continues to move forward. It's a fun project. We got quite a few people participating. You can see all the images that have been found so far on the scroll down the left side, and you'll see those images. Films and TV shows that are incredibly popular that we've all seen, and others that go back 60 plus years that you may not be aware even existed. Also, of course, my website are energy cleaners for sale. What these are, they're marvelous healing devices. That's what they are. I use mine every night. I'm pretty active around the ranch here, climbing up and down these hills, off and on the tractor, using the chainsaw, using the line trimmer, and so forth. I go to bed with minor aches and pains, and I wake up pain-free in the morning, ready to hit it again. And you can also. My 20, soon-to-be 21-year-old grandson who plays football on a college scholarship, he uses his energy cleaner. And it doesn't matter where you are in life, what your status is in terms of health and age, the energy cleaner will help you. That's what it'll do. Check it out at my website at thelibertyman.com. Be sure and check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads. And then go ahead and make your decision. Don't procrastinate. Go ahead and make your decision. The energy cleaner is only $285, shipping included, American zip codes. And I do take PayPal, MasterCard, and Visa. You can send me a check also. My address is at my website at thelibertyman.com. Toll-free our line, here it is, 800-592-9543. Don't forget, I offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. 800-592-9543. Visiting with Jimmy Ginsling, the proprietor of Desert Eagle Shooters. That's deserteagleshooters.com. Let's continue.
Okay, I did remember to take the mute off on it this time. But we were talking about the Lee loaders. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're interested in getting into reloading and you're going to do one caliber, this is a perfect little tool for it. The only thing you have to have that doesn't come in the kit is your powder, your primers and your bullets, and a wooden mallet. And you neck resizes only. So you want to use ammunition that was fired through your own gun. And that is also a good thing because it extends the life of the brass and allows you to reload it more often before they start wearing out. But Alamogordo show, then this show this time around here, and the Deming show, we had people that were familiar with them and wanted to know if they still made them, and if so, in particular calibers. And we did a special order for one for a gentleman for a 303 British. And then today we've got one going in for a customer at this last show for 7.62 by 54. And hopefully Tim has got, I haven't looked since we've been home, but I sent Tim the new catalogs and everything for Lee and the other products to get up on the web page. And hopefully he's got those up, because, ladies and gentlemen, you'll be able to go to our web page, which is deserteagleshooters.com, and go to the products, pull up the Lee catalog, and be able to look at all of the different items and educate yourself about reloading or the other equipment that we carry. We're official, John. We are now authorized dealers for Williams gun sights.
All right.
And Williams has been around since the late 1800s, and they're started off with peep sights for Winchesters and other lever guns. Now we've got complete fire sights for Glocks and everything else that's out there. We now have Williams sights for everything, which is an incredible improvement over the factory sights 99% of the time.
Right. Well, those lever guns came with buckhorn sights back in the 19th century only, didn't they?
Oh, yes, sir. And Winchester 73, 76. The Winchester 76 was the first to have an adjustable rear sight that the adjustment didn't require a hammer or a file. And then they went back to the regular buckhorn rear sights for, oh my goodness, many, many years. And Williams, Lyman, Pacific, all in that same era began making ladder peep sights and receiver sights and tang-mounted sights and everything to be able to use the full potential of those rifles. So the beauty of the Williams is simplicity and price. Where some of these other sight manufacturers, some of the new ones that are out there, you're going to look at sight prices of $135 up for replacement sights for a Glock, and Williams sights, every one of them, for the handguns and everything, run either in the $40 price range or the $62 price range.
Well, that's very reasonable for high-quality products. We got a caller on hold here, Jim. We got Fred in Wisconsin. Good morning, Fred.
Good morning, Fred. How are you this morning?
We're doing good. I just heard you mention 4570. I had to jump in with this. I had a great friend of mine took me out to see the Custer battlefield years ago. When we got back to his home, he came down with a cigarette box, an old cigar box, and he had been going there years earlier, and he had picked up a bunch of brass. And the story goes, and he explained it to me, that in the positions where the Indians were shooting, they were using 50 caliber rifles. But they didn't have 50 caliber ammunition. They were grabbing the soldier 4570 ammunition. So every time they touched it off, they had to take their knife and pull the spent cartridge out to reload, and it split the brass. So he was showing me the difference between the split brass that the Indians had fired and the unsplit brass that the soldiers had fired.
And your friend was showing you evidence of the crime he committed.
Well, that's neither here nor there. Yeah.
It is.
I picked up a button on
your friend is a criminal who committed a crime.
All right, fine.
And he showed you the evidence of that crime.
Okay, John. Here's the other end of it, just to give you a heads up. A satanic organization in Missouri is pushing through the courts on this anti-abortion business, and I just read the whole article on that, so I don't know if you've had a look at it yet, but, have a good day.
Okay, thank you for the call. Well, it's going to a battlefield and removing artifacts is a crime. And to show those artifacts off and be proud of them and talk about them is, something that I would not do.
No, sir. When I was stationed at Yorktown, Virginia, in the Coast Guard, at Coast Guard Base Yorktown, in order to get to the Coast Guard base, you had to drive through the Yorktown battlefield. And practically every day out there, the officers would have one or two people that they would bring up to the Coast Guard base, to the gate, and the security, the Coast Guard security guards would wait there or watch these people until the sheriff arrived, because they were constantly arresting people for digging out, some of them even digging out things from the trees on it and stuff.
Artifacts from the Battle of Yorktown.
Yep, from the Yorktown battle, the surrender of Cornwallis. But that's just something that is, people really shouldn't do that. If you do find something like that, look at it, examine it maybe, but leave it there so someone else can have the opportunity to get educated a bit. It's one of those things, some one way or the other. But getting back to the Lee loader real quick, if Tim has got those up, ladies and gentlemen, go over to DesertEagleShooters.com and bring up the Lee catalog, and you'll find the Lee loaders listed under the kits. And when you look it up on that, it will say Lee loader kits pistol, Lee loader kits rifle. And it explains the process on it. In fact, you can actually download the instructions and on any of products. That's the nice thing about Lee. You can download any of the instruction manuals right there from the website looking at the product. If you're looking at a turret press, you'll see the little Adobe emblem, and it says download instructions. And I recommend people do that, because if I miss something in answering a question on the air or whatever, but by looking at the instructions and everything, they understand more fully of what they can do with that particular item. But excellent show this weekend. We had just too much fun. And now I promised everybody that I would pass on what the Korean War vet did as far as the gun control nuts out there. We were all standing there that morning having coffee and donuts, and one of his friends was chit-chatting with him. He says, now you need to tell so-and-so here how you handle the gun crazies. And the guy kind of laughed, and he says, well, what I do, he says, when I find out that they're anti-gun, he says, I'll engage them in conversation and draw it around two guns and trip their trigger. And he says, they'll start telling me this and that and everything else. And he says, I immediately act like I'm very interested in what they're saying. And then once you act like you are interested in what they're saying, they'll continue, and they'll get better and better. And he says, then he'll stop and he says, well, you know, you're telling me all this. How can we fix it? And, of course, they'll get the first words normally are advanced background checks, enhanced background checks, and everything else. And he'll let them explain that or they'll talk about it. And he says, well, tell me what an enhanced background check is. 90% of the time, the people will look at him because they don't know what it is. And then recently now, he's been bringing up the Vegas shooting, and he says, well, would any of those things stop this guy? And some of them, he said, will start, yes, they could have done this or that. And then you hit him with, well, they already passed all the background checks. This guy passed all of his background checks. That normally takes him off guard, and then he says he brings up the fact, again, from recent stuff that's added to his fire, that Dianne Feinstein, in an interview on national TV, made the comment that the host asked her, you know, what laws that they want to pass could have prevented this, and the only answer she could give, but she didn't, was confiscate the guns. She didn't go that far. But he asked her again, you know, how would he have done this? You know, could we have prevented it? And Dianne Feinstein states in this, and you can find it on YouTube, that no current laws would have prevented this guy from doing anything. And short of total 100% gun confiscation, nothing could be done to prevent anything like this in the future from the same type of person. And his buddy was just laughing because he'd watched him do this evidently several times. And the people get so flustered because their argument has just been taken away from them. So,
well, Jimmy, even the argument of total gun confiscation, we have total prohibition of heroin, but that has not stopped heroin sales. It comes in literally by the ton. It's a fantasy to believe, and this is my reality. We have 5,000 years of fairly decent records for human history that the market will always meet the demand. It doesn't matter what the demand is. If there's a demand for heroin, that market will be met. If there's a demand for any substance or activity, that demand will be met by the market. And I've never found a counter argument to what I just said. Have you, Jimmy?
No, sir. No, sir, not at all. One of the new T-shirts that we carry in the store and also at the gun shows and everything says, "You can give peace a chance. If it doesn't work out, I'll cover your 6." And that's all it said. And it's amazing to see people out in Walmart and other stuff like it stare at that shirt and they're trying to figure out exactly what I'm saying.
Well, cover your six is becoming a bit more mainstream, but that's a term used in by men and women in military and law enforcement. That term is not well known by a very big percentage of the population.
No, and I've had a couple of young teenage age individuals ask me what it means, and I explained to them. I says, "Well, has your buddy ever gone in to ask a girl for a date or something like that, and you stand back watching so that the football player that wants to date her at the same time doesn't jump in and hit him?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I says, "Well, then you're covering his 6. What it is you're covering the side that he can't see from attack." Oh, that's pretty cool. Next time we see him, we'll hear that they're using it in normal conversation.
Right.
But his theory and his technique I found to be practically perfect because you allow them to give you all of their arguments, and at the same time they see that their arguments are moot.
That's right. Right. A quick follow-up before the break. I offered to put a sign in their front yard, "This is a gun-free home." Nobody wants to take me up on it.
I know.
Here's our break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 23rd of October. Visiting with Jimmy Gensling, the CEO of Desert Eagle Shooters, DesertEagleShooters.com. If you want to get started in reloading, Jimmy, you got the equipment. Do you have manuals or DVDs people can buy also to do some tutorials there?
One thing that we always do and everything is locally is if anybody buys a reloading kit from us, we spend the time normally starting at about 1 o'clock or right after lunch, and we go the whole process with them and get them a good foundation. Over the Internet, sometimes that's a little difficult, but still, we work through our customers and everything. We're always available to them for a phone call. I tell folks, I says, even if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you deem that it's necessary and serious enough, I want the call. They may have to wait a few minutes to knock the cobwebs loose and to get coherent, but I've never had a customer double charge a case, and I've never had a customer with a stuck barrel. So we try to lay the best foundation that we can for folks and keep them supplied with the quality products And the information, if there's any updates or anything, we always let them know. And there's a couple of different aspects to the reloading process that next hour I'll talk more about the options for reloading without a full-blown press and a bench and everything else, because there are several different ways to do it. And
Right.
so I was able to pick up a few components and everything from the parts boxes on a couple of tables that allowed me to put a couple of old presses that I've been refurbishing for folks back in operation. And we're always looking for, if anybody out there has got any old reloading components or press parts or reloading stuff that you don't know exactly what it is, we are interested in it, because I'm continually picking up old presses or damaged presses and other equipment, refurbishing it, and then that way I can get someone into reloading at a really reduced rate but still have quality equipment.
Right. Our local preparedness group's having a reloading class in December here, and we had a experienced reloader, of course, being the instructor. Quick follow-up on Fred's comment about this Satanist woman. She felt guilt and shame because Missouri state law required her to listen to the heartbeat of the baby that was inside her womb that she wanted to murder. So she's suing the state of Missouri so that women no longer have to hear the heartbeat of the unborn baby that they're carrying, so they will no longer feel guilt and shame, according to her Satanist beliefs. Very bizarre and strange stuff. But that's the way it is here in Missouri in 2017.
Back, John, we were discussing earlier, it's impossible to regulate or trying to think of the word I want to use, but morality and common sense. You can't think stupid.
Well, we'll talk about this more at a later time. We got a top of the hour break. We'll be right back. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here, our second hour on Monday, the 23rd day of October. Special announcement, I will be speaking this coming Saturday, October 28th, at Hattiesburg, Mississippi, at the Red Lion Inn, 1 p.m., free and open to the public. There's a banner at my website at thelibertyman.com. Prepper tip of the day. I want to encourage all of you to learn how to read maps. You need road maps, road atlases, topographical maps. You need compasses. You need to learn how to cross-country navigate and use a map and compass, and learn how to read a map to navigate. Those are essential foundational skills that every person in the United States should have, without exception. You do need those skills. And don't try to substitute GPS, but GPS is wonderful. I love my GPS device on one hand. On the other, you want to depend your life on something that uses a battery? Seriously? Do you? No, you need to learn how to use a map and compass. GPS may not always be there. We have back our second hour, as we do most Mondays, Jimmy Ginsling with Desert Eagle Shooters. That's deserteagleShooters.com. Let's continue, Jimmy.
All right. On your tip of the day there, add a little comment to it and a postscript. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking at your maps and everything that John's talking about, one of the best combinations that you can buy for a combination road map and topographic map is put out by a company called Delorme. And I believe now they have all states. I know for the longest time it was mainly the western states. But what it is, ladies and gentlemen, it is a topographic map in book form, and it's a road map. So you get a taste, very large scale, I might add, of topographic map with your road map, and it's kind of a learning without being taught learning, getting accustomed to some of the symbols and terrain and a few other things. So, plus if you have to go to the doctor's office and waiting longer than you expected, it does make interesting reading, even though it is a roadmap. So just thought I'd toss that out there, John.
Well, that series, and I'm not sure of the correct pronunciation. I've always called it Delorme, and they came out in the mid '90s, and incrementally they got. I'm pretty sure they have all 50 states done now. The big advantage of the Delorme bound books is they show roads and trails that never appear on normal road maps. If you think you may ever need those, and of course the topographical features. I like to have both. A regular road atlas is quicker to use for a road trip on one hand. On the other, the bound books with the topographical maps show detail you will never ever find on a normal road map. So they both have their own place and both have their own purpose.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, they do. But getting back to the reloading part of it, sometimes individuals want to get into reloading, and they're just intimidated, one by the cost and one how complicated the equipment looks. And I neglected one item a while ago when I said the only thing you needed with the reloader, other than the kit, was powders, bullets, primers, and a mallet. I forgot to put in there a reloading manual. Always, even if you're just looking into getting into reloading and haven't yet, the one that I recommend and the one that we sell the most of is the Lyman reloading manual. The new 50th edition covers a whole lot of new calibers and old calibers that are now becoming popular again. And the advantage of the Lyman manual over the others, Hornady manuals, excellent, but they focus primarily on Hornady bullets in the reloads. Lee, excellent manual, but again, it doesn't cover as many different bullet combinations for your rifle or pistol. The Lyman not only covers jacketed bullets and subsonic bullets for some calibers, but also covers cast bullet loads for that same caliber, like 44 mag or 38 Special, 357 Magnum. And in the beginning of each section on that particular caliber, let's say 30-30, it explains a bit of the history about it and any peculiarities in reloading that case. And those sell for like $29 and change, but they're the go-to, in my opinion. And Lyman has broken it down also that they've got an excellent shot shell reloading manual. They have one that is dedicated specifically to the AR platform and all of the different calibers that can be loaded for it at current time, because that changes. They have a pistol reloading manual only. And, ladies and gentlemen, these are all great. Say you just want to do pistol reloading. You don't want to reload for rifle. Rather than have an 1.25 inch thick reloading manual to hunt through when you're only using the back half of it, the pistol reloading manual is about 1/2 inch thick, covers everything that's in the 50th edition, but it's in a smaller format that is easier to understand, easier to get through, and has just the same quality information. So that's just a bit of food for thought on that. The reloaders, they run for, I think, $41, and that's for one caliber, and it's just a dirt simple way to reload. If you remember the movie Quigley Down Under, when he gets his rig back, but he didn't have his saddlebags, so he couldn't make his reloads, that's where the reloader eventually came into play, was for the Sharps rifles in the field. And they gradually grew and grew and grew, and at one time, there was a reloader for practically every caliber out there. Now we're down to about 20 of them, I believe. And so that's one option. Now, the other option is Lee and Lyman both produce what is known as a hand press. This is a small reloading press that uses your standard dies, but it doesn't screw down to a bench. It's operated simply like take your hedge clippers and hold them with the blades down, and that action, that scissor action of opening and closing it, is the same action that you would use on the Lee or Lyman hand press. And still the same options and everything, other than the Lee loader being fixed to a single caliber. With the hand press, then you just use your regular dies, and you're only limited to how long your arms can stand up. Long cases, like the 4570 cases, 30-06, a bunch of 308 over a while, but any large diameter, long cases will build up your biceps, John. It's better than any gym membership.
Well, you'd have to alternate arms, otherwise you'd be lopsided, wouldn't you?
Oh, yes. You use both arms on it, so it's equal opportunity abuser as far as your arms go. But that is the modern side of it. Now, there's another tool out there, and it's one of my favorite. At one point in time, I had every available die set that was made for it. Circumstances and certain individuals saw fit to relieve me of that particular item, but it's known as a Lyman 310 tool. Now, the 310 tool looks just like a pair of pliers without having the pliers on the end of it. It comes down to the hinge, and that's it. Uses a specific set of dies, which are very, very fine thread, and they're very thin, very, very petite dies compared to what you're normally used to seeing. But with the 310 tool, you're using a scissor action like that, very close to the hinge, so you're maximizing your effort. And again, it only neck resizes like the Lee hand loader. But in the process of doing it, it's an actual press. So you lube them, you decap and resize the neck, and then it's got one die that screws into it for priming them. And then in particular, some calibers, they have what is known as an M die. And the M die is used to straighten out the neck diameter on the inside, and also to put a very slight flare in the mouth of the cartridge for seating cast bullets. The purpose of it is that if you're just strictly resize off of your regular dies and don't put that little bit of flare in it, when you're seating cast bullets, it'll shave some of the lead off the side of it, off the bullet going into the case. And that usually will get deposited right there around the neck at the top. You have to remove it, because if you don't, then it can cause problems with chambering the rounds.
Right.
So by using the M die, it does that slight upset on the end, and you seat your cast lead bullets in it. The nice part about the Lyman 310 tool is it and all of its dies and the accessories that go with it all fit in a little bag about the size of the AR-15 cleaning kit. You remember those? Used to fit in the buttstock of the rifle. And the 310 tool, the dies, the little screwdriver that you use for a couple of instances on it, all go in that one little kit. And so we're talking about, 3 inches high, about 10 inches long, and then the thickness of all the stuff in there is, say, about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches. That and a container of primers and a container of powder and whatever bullets you want to use all fit in one little bag that can go inside your backpack or your bug-out bag or whatever, and you can reload in the field on the run, just like using the Lee loader. So for those that are out there looking at, oh, by the way, the Lyman 310 tool and its dies are no longer made, but you find them all the time at garage sales and gun shows and things like that. So back when in the heyday of the Lee loader, they actually had those, John, for shotgun.
That's right.
And the only one that I'm missing of the true Lee loaders for shotgun is the 16 gauge. But you have 12 gauge, 20, they made 16, and 410.
Well, 16 gauge has become out of common usage. There's still a lot of them out there. You can still buy ammunition for 16 gauge shotguns, but 12, 14, and 410 are the what most people use most of the time these days.
Yes, sir. And the 410 is all in all my favorite, especially since I found a replacement Stevens 23 that is a 410 22 long rifle over and under. And had one when I was growing up. I loved it. I'd still like to find the dirt bag that stole it out of my dad's truck. But it's just a phenomenal little rifle and excellent scabbard gun. And the combination of 22 long rifle on top and the 410 on the bottom is just a match made in heaven. They complement each other very, very well.
Right.
The options are all out there, ladies and gentlemen. And like I was talking about this gun show here, I found a few of the 310 tool dies that a guy had just bits and pieces. And I was able to complete out a couple of kits that I've been working on that I've been missing some pieces for, i.e. 308 and also the 44 mag. Was missing a couple of pieces on those. But the options of reloading, ladies and gentlemen, is simple. It's a very effective way to do things. The only caution I give you on carrying a Lee loader or a Lyman 310 tool or the Lee hand press in the field is on your powder, do not transfer the powder, the 1 pound can, to another container to transport it. Because of the chemical makeup of the powder, most of them nowadays are a double base powder. Some plastics, because of the chemicals in them, they will affect and actually kind of melt them a little bit. One, that renders your powder questionable for the most part, but two, it also allows for the container to melt through or become very, very brittle that in normal handling it breaks. So either way, it's a bad option. The 1 pound can of powder is about 4 inches in diameter and about 8 inches tall. And it doesn't take up very much space, and of course it's the weight of 1 pound or less, depending on how much you've been using out of it. Now, one other item that goes back into the dustbins of history, the powder scale and the powder measure I talk about for throwing your powder charges. Back in the field days and everything else, they had what was known as a dipper set, and still manufactured to this day. In fact, I ordered a couple of them in that I had to deliver at the Cruces show. But they cost about $8 or $9, and it's a series of powder dippers, and they're graduated in cc's of volume. So in this
Hold that thought, Jimmy. Hold that thought. We have a break. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the inter-shelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The inter-shelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at thelibertyman.com. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 23rd of October. This coming Saturday, I'll be speaking in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, at the Red Lion Inn. There's a banner at my website at thelibertyman.com. 1 p.m., free and open to the public. Visiting with Jimmy Gensling, and he is the proprietor of Desert Eagle Shooters. That website is deserteagleshooters.com. Let's continue, Jimmy. You're on mute there, Jimmy.
All right, I knew it was going to happen. But on the powder scoops, people will look at them and say, well, what happens if they don't make one that is for what I want, or this or that? And I have been known on the little plastic scoops that I have a particular load that the gun really likes. And one scoop throws way too light of a charge, and the other one is way too heavy of a charge. I've been known, since I've acquired several of these over the years, you know how it is, John, you can't find it, so you buy another one, and then 3 days later you'll find the one that you're originally looking for. And I've been known to take a file and file off or sandpaper on a flat surface, just simply remove enough of the top and then deburr the inside of it to make a powder scoop that is particular load of a particular powder for a particular handgun load, typically. Boy, I just got a whole bunch of typicals in that one, didn't I? But anyway, what I'm trying to cover today, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that in order to get into reloading, and especially in a cockeye hit the whirling device situation, you don't have to have all the fancy big equipment. You were actually taking a step back in time and being able to reload mobile, because at that time, the ones that needed to reload, being out in the country and didn't have a Walmart around the corner to run down and buy more ammo, they saved their brass, and they would cast their bullets at night by the campfire and load their shells. Now, that brings up another point on it, the bullet casting. Currently, between Lee, RCBS, Lyman, and several other companies, you can find a cast bullet in a particular weight for practically any caliber out there. So if you've got a favorite 32-20 Winchester that you like to shoot, there's no problem with shooting cast bullets in it. It's what it originally fired in the first place. The only consideration that you really need to pay attention to on bullet casting is how hard the bullet is, because how hard it is depends on how fast it can be pushed. And regular wheel weights, you can find those practically anywhere in any town. If you melt those down and cast bullets out of them, the hardness on those is going to be between 11 and 14 BRN. And that hardness is good enough to be able to push those bullets about 1,900 feet per second. That is well above most, if not all, common use handgun velocity. And it's right in the window of the velocities for things like the 30-30, 45-70, all of the, what we call the classic guns. Even reduced loads in 308, 30-06, 7.62 by 39. All of these rifle cartridges can be loaded down to a reduced load, which means that the bullet is below 2,000 feet per second.
We have a break. Let's continue after the break. Stay tuned.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We're continuing our energy cleaner promotion, which began August of 2016. In this promotion, you get to buy an energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and a mattress pad, 10% off retail. $200 of the purchase price of the energy cleaner goes to Republic Broadcasting. This is a great way to help get energy cleaners out to people who need them and have some financial issues to deal with. And, of course, a great way to support Republic Broadcasting. Here's what you do. Send in a postcard. My address is John Moore, P.O. Box 201, Davidsville, Missouri. We pick a postcard every 2 weeks. If your postcard is drawn, you get the chance to buy the energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and 10% off the mattress pads. Put your name and your address, your telephone number, and your email address on the postcard, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. As most of you know, my regular listeners, I offer energy cleaners for sale at my website. If you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, go to my website, thelibertyman.com. Educate yourself about these marvelous healing devices. We focus on pain mitigation and getting a great night's sleep. Arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, doesn't matter. Keep in mind, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. Energy cleaners, $285, shipping included to American zip codes. You can educate yourself all about the energy cleaner right there at my website, the patent application, the wonderful testimonials. Be sure and check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads to go with the energy cleaner. Now, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. I have a toll-free order line, or you can order it right at my website at thelibertyman.com. The toll-free order line is 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Thank you. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 23rd of October. You know, so at my website, you'll find there's a lot there, and we're always adding more. Something that's very important, I don't mention it frequently enough. A book, The Copyright's Long Expired, was published about half a century ago. The title of it is The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy, a book that will help you gain the clarity and the focus you need to achieve any goal you want to focus and achieve. Also, my website, of course, Energy Cleaners for Sale. I do package these up myself. If you place an order, I'm the guy that packages them up, gets the label printed out, takes them to the country post office at Cherryville, Missouri, and gets them off priority mail to you. Mattress pads the same way. Check them out at my website at thelibertyman.com. The patent application information on the energy cleaner, the wonderful testimonials. Then go ahead and place your order. You can place your order right at my website at thelibertyman.com. Keep in mind I take PayPal, MasterCard, Visa, and of course checks can be sent to my address at thelibertyman.com. Toll-free online, 24 hours a day. Here it is, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Visiting with Jimmy Gensling, taking your questions, calls, and comments at Republic Broadcasting at 800-313-9443. Let's continue, Jimmy.
All right, sir. We were talking about the bullet casting aspect of it. And in bullet casting, the very, very number one most important thing of bullet casting is ventilation. Don't do it in the garage with the windows closed or anything like that. You always have to have ventilation, preferably cross-draft ventilation. And by cross-draft, I mean the air movement coming from behind you, then passing over the lead pot and everything and out the window or door or however you're set up. The absolute best is to be able to do it outside. And but in the bullet casting process, once you're familiar with it and different lead formulas for your bullet casting, pure lead you never want to use unless it's a black powder rifle or pistol, because pure lead at practically any velocity on bare metal will lead up the barrel very quickly. In black powder, typically you have a patch between the bullet or conical or whatever it is you're shooting and the rifling in the rifle barrel itself. So one of the easiest ways is just to use straight wheel weights. I'm not sure how other places are, but out here in the Southwest, you go into a tire dealership or whatever and ask the shop foreman, and most of the time they'll give you a coffee can full or whatever of wheel weights they pulled off of cars. And there you go. There's your material. The first time that you melt anything like that, you want to take a little bit of wax, candle wax, after it's fully melted, and you have some form of spoon that you use, and it's only anything that you use for lead, for bullet casting, like spoons or knives or anything like that for tools. Make sure, absolutely positive, that they never go back in the kitchen for any other use where human consumption is used. They're going to, from that point on, always be strictly for reloading and casting bullets. But you take your spoon and stir the molten lead, and all the little metal pieces that clip it to the tire rim and things like that will come to the surface, and you gently scrape those to one side and pick them up, get rid of them, and then you'll see what is called a dross, D-R-O-S-S, on top of the lead. That's all the dirt, the grease, the junk, everything else that's accumulated on those. And you take that spoon again and scrape across it and around the edges and all. Get all that to one side. It'll pile up because it can't mix with the lead. It just sits on top of it. And you scoop that out. And I put it in an old coffee can or something, and once it gets full, then dispose of it. But once you've got all the skimmed off and everything, you take about a pea-sized piece of candle wax, drop it into the center of your lead pot, and it's immediately going to smoke up everything. But you stir that in, and you'll be amazed at more junk that comes to the surface. and you clean that off, and then you've got really good pure lead to cast your bullets with. So doing that, and then depending on the bullet designs, we could sit here and talk all day on this, John, because of the different styles of bullets and gas checks and hollow points and hollow base and all the different things on that. But the most important thing on cast bullets is lubrication. And the simplest and most inexpensive way to lubricate those bullets is what is known as tumbling. You put them in a Cool Whip bowl, old piece of Tupperware, something like that that's not very big. And Lee sells a product known as liquid Alox, A-L-O-X. This is the same chemical that is used in different other kinds of hard lubricant for bullets that use a resizer and press to do the bullets. But liquid Alox, you drizzle it on there on your bullets inside your little Tupperware bowl and swirl them around until everything has got a nice even coat on it, not real thick, just a nice even coat on it, and dump those out on a piece of wax paper and leave them overnight. The Alox hardens, and then you can go ahead and just load them into your cartridges. The Alox helps prevent leading and also tends to allow for a little bit better velocities and everything because of the lubricating aspect of it. Helps keep the barrel cleaner, and you don't have the leading building up in it or anything that you've got to scrape out or work out the next time that you do a good cleaning job. So you don't have to have all of the high-dollar stuff, ladies and gentlemen, to get into reloading and to be able to do it very, very well. If you go with the Lee loader, the small packet that I started off talking about, that's $41. You can pick up a nice little mallet, like the fiberglass tipped ones. You don't want to use steel. Wooden mallet works great. And then your powder, primers, and bullets, and you're set to go, along with your reloading manual. And once you get started into this process and you get started into reloading, you're going to notice two things in your reloading manual. One is minimum charge weight for that powder and a maximum charge weight for that powder. Now, for plinking practice and everything else, I tell people to find an accuracy load that is at the lower end of the scale as far as velocity and volume. And if you're going to reload for hunting, then you take the maximum load. And also, another thing, I almost forgot about this. When you're looking at the reloading manual, at the very first section that I talked about, it's going to say, and I'm going to use 4570 for an example. They have got two separate, used to be three, but now it's only two separate loading sections for 4570. One, it will say for Ruger number 1 and Siamese Mauser and this and that and everything else. The second one will say for like Trapdoor Springfield, Sharps, etc. What that is doing, ladies and gentlemen, is if you have an older rifle, maybe possibly one of the originals or recent original, you might say, where the metallurgy of that time that it was made may be questionable with full powerhouse loads. They break down in the loading manuals one section for modern rifles that you can run very high pressures on, and one section on older or less, I don't want to say less reliable, but the metallurgy is strictly lighter in it, like your Trapdoor Springfields. You don't want to put a 500 grain 4570 bullet that you loaded for your Ruger number 1 or your new bench gun into a trapdoor spring field.
Right.
It can ruin your day. But after all that, John, was that about as clear as mud or what?
Well, we probably lost some people, but if people are interested in this topic, I think they would be able to keep up with it. So you did a good job there, Jimmy. The call number is 800-313-9443. Jimmy, after church yesterday, I was talking to a couple of guys about rifles, and one of the gentlemen mentioned how he doesn't want to make his logistics more complex by adding additional calibers, and I do recommend that people not do that, make their lives more complex by adding calibers to their inventory. And he wants to standardize on 308 for his family. And I said, I asked, obviously, a good all-around caliber. I asked him if bolt action was one of the things he's looking at, and he said yes. Well, he's already got an M1A, so I suggested the Mossberg MVP, as Mike Victor Papa, which is a bolt action 308 that takes the M14 magazines, which would be a great way to simplify his logistics, don't you think?
Oh yes. That, in fact, I got a chance to look at one of those the first time, those Mossbergs over at this gun show in Cruces. Guy right across the aisle from us had one of those, and it threw me because the customer, I was on that side of our booth area, and a customer came up and was talking to him and looking for magazines for his Mossberg, and the guy pulled a Mossberg that he had there up and was showing him on it, and he pointed to me and he says, "Go talk to that gentleman. He's got some." And took him back there, of course, found him some, we had some 20-round magazines. I think we had one 5-round magazine left. And he was just ecstatic because look everywhere around and can't find them. And so we set him up with, I think he walked out with about 8 or 10 different magazines when it was all over with. But I got a real good education on that Mossberg. And setting it up to use a common magazine, I think that is brilliant.
Yeah,
I really do.
It is. And one of the other manufacturers, they were developing their own version of the Scout rifle, and for some reason they couldn't figure out how to make their rifle accept the M14 magazine. It seems like a simple engineering problem that has a equally simple engineering solution to me, doesn't it, Jimmy?
Yeah, the way I see to do that, and you might find out who it was, John, and give him a call and say, take the magazine and cut a hole in the stock and fit it to the action so it'll fit. I think that's basically what it takes.
Well, that ship's already left port, and they're got a proprietary magazine for their rifle. It's one of the big manufacturers. We got a caller on hold here. We got Bob in Michigan. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, all. Jimmy, I've run across a significant supply of lead, and it came from a radiator shop, and it's had it tested. It's about 20% tin in it. What's the? Can I use that for casting, or is that not a good idea?
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. In the reloading manual, one of the most popular books that we sell at gun shows is the Lyman Cast Bullet Manual. And it goes through all the formulas in the front for mixing different components with lead to make them harder or to make them easier to lube. There's some additives that certain types of lube don't want to stick to. But the standard is to take pure lead and add, depending on how hard you want it, between 10 and 15% of weight of tin to the molten pure lead, and stir that in and mix it, and that gives you what is typically known as a number 2 alloy.
Okay.
So the tin and lead together, it hardens the lead so that it is less likely to lead the barrel, to leave pieces of actual bullet inside the barrel stuck in the grooves, but still soft enough that when it hits your game or whatever you're shooting at, that it upsets and mushrooms. So
okay,
yeah, that's perfect to use.
Okay. Are you familiar with antimony?
Yes, sir. That's another additive that is used to harden the lead.
Okay.
Antimony not only hardens, but it also, in mixing it with the tin and the lead, it adds a bit of elasticity, is the term, to the bullet once it's cast.
That's interesting.
That is important because on some of the older rifles, the bullet design is such that when you pull the trigger and it goes boom, that the base of the bullet will actually expand slightly to fully engage the grooves on the rifle. And the antimony adds it in the mix. It allows the bullet to be just slightly so more elastic that it will expand without cracking or deforming on that. So you're in a perfect batch on that. That sounds great.
Okay. Yeah, I got a couple 100 pounds of that stuff.
All right. Go for it.
You're well set, my friend. You're very well set.
Right.
I suggest you set, if you would like, give me a call sometime today or tomorrow, and I'll talk to you about what calibers that you might want to cast for, and give you a few suggestions on some of the tried and true molds.
Okay.
Very, very
Bob,
versatile.
thank you for the call. You two talk later. Okay, appreciate it. We got a break. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 23rd of October, visiting with Jimmy Ginsling with Desert Eagle Shooters at deserteagleshooters.com. Been a wide-ranging show here, Jimmy. We've gone into political matters, reloading matters, and related topics, and helping people get educated here, aren't we?
I tell you what, today has been more fun than a long time, John. It was just kind of like two old friends sitting over coffee. You know how those conversations go.
That's right.
And,
right. You never know what direction they're going to go.
On the bullet casting there is one particular group of guys out there that shoot cast bullets at extreme ranges. And by that, I'm talking 1,000, 1,500 yards.
Right.
And the bullets that they use are very, very, very hard cast bullets because they're coming out of the barrel at about 3,200 feet per second, which, if it was any other cast bullet, ladies and gentlemen, it would leave a large amount of that bullet inside the rifle stuck to the rifling. And bullet casting is a very economical way to keep your practice ammunition up, and also a very practical way of developing a good hunting load that has the perfect terminal ballistics that you need for the particular game you're after. So it pays to look into it, and check the website, deserteagleshooters.com, and Tim, hopefully I'll look here in a little bit and see if the Lyman and the Lee catalogs are up there. But they will give an overview of everything, and whatever our customers need and everything, we're always available. If we don't have it in stock or if we don't carry it, we will endeavor to find it for them. And they can either visit deserteagleshooters.com. They can drop me an email at jimi@hdc-nm.com. Phonetically, Juliet India Mike India at Hotel Delta Charlie -November Mike.com. And Phone is available if they need it, 575-513-2842. If I don't get to it immediately, I may be in the middle of something or with another person, customer or whatever. Just leave me a message and I will get back to you. Or you can text that same number.
Right, all that information is at your website at deserteagleshooters.com, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Tim takes very good care of the webpage and keeping things up and running. And I'm so much appreciative of him after what he's gone through here lately and the whole first part of the year and all. I'm just ecstatic that when I talk to him, I hear that cheerful guy that I'm so used to hearing.
Right. Well, that's
and
good.
As a final update, the prayer request last week for Amanda, I got notice that everything went fine in the surgery. It went quicker than normal, and she came out of it just ready to go. So
We're really happy to hear that. That's wonderful. Great outcome.
I want to pass on a big thank you to everyone for prayer and I got a very fine phone call from her thanking me, and I had to explain that it wasn't me alone.
That's right.
It was just a group of
Jimmy, thank you. We'll have you back next Monday. We appreciate you being with us.
Talk to you then, sir. Thank you.
Okay. That's it for the day. Get medical supplies, energy cleaner, essential oils now while you can, your firearms ammunition. Never ever give up your guns. Have a fun, safe, productive day. And God bless America.